Hello and welcome on into this year's 2025 City Builders video. I've found 10 titles, some you might have heard of, some you might haven't have, some you might not have, and so I hope that something on this list will pique your interest today. Just some light housekeeping, as there has been a big change since last year's video. I am now part of the Hooded Horse team, so while there are some Hooded Horse titles on this list today, they would have been there anyway, because of course they would have. Let's get into it. Over the years, it has become plain to see that the Venn diagram of strategy gamers and history lovers is a circle. So it stands to reason that historical city builders are, quite frankly, our jam. This is the most popular segment of this series, so as a little treat, I've put our historical city builders right at the start of the video. Alternate history and grand strategy, name a better combo. Kaiser Punk takes place in an alternative 20th century world where you rule as a benevolent leader or militaristic general. The world of Kaiser Punk sprawls across the land and your conflict will take place on a global scale. But good wars are won with logistics, and you'll have to carefully manage your cities and factories to guarantee success on the front. With a bright, colourful art style and gorgeous models, Kaiser Punk is set to hit 1.0 in February of 2025. Would you be shocked to find out this one has been on my radar for some time? Kaiser Punk first took my fancy when I saw some graphics from it, and I've kind of kept an eye on it ever since. I think it's interesting that they're not attempting to have an early access period and instead are going to launch into 1.0 right off the bat. That being said, they have engaged in playtests, so hopefully they have the feedback that they require to do that. While I love city builders that keep gameplay small and concise, there is a special place in my heart for grand conflict and global stakes. Overall, this is a monumental effort from Overseer Games, and I'm super keen to see what they come out with in February. Second on our list today is Nova Roma from Lion Shield and Hooded Horse. You'll take charge of a small settlement with the intent to rebuild with glory as the Empire of Rome begins to rot. Appeasing the gods and shaping the landscape to take advantage of natural water sources will be high on your priority list as your successors attract more and more citizens to your new city. Will you listen to your advisors and pass edicts that benefit your people? Or will your ego rise to rival that of the gods? I love a good city builder and I love me some water mechanics. A fun fact, as I wrote this part of the script, my backyard flooded, so natural disasters and some Wrath of the God disasters are fantastic for throwing a spanner in the works of even the best planned out cities. And that in turn leads to some of the most interesting stories of struggle. The art style also really caught my eye. I am more of a photorealistic girly, but I do really like a strong, bold art choice like this. But what I'm most curious about is the gods aspect of the game. I think this is where we could really see some unique deviations from the usual city builder staples that we get. Having to appease the gods or risk their wrath and the disasters that come with it add an extra element into the gameplay that I haven't really explored much before. I do like random elements that can cause chaos and collapse and basically just get in the way of your very well laid plans. Nova Roma could surprise us with some unique mechanics. I get the feeling this one is a lot more in depth than it's letting on. Hopefully we'll get to find out in 2025. Next up is Times of Progress, being self-published by Pressing Thumbs Games. Times of Progress will see you back in the Industrial Revolution, managing, producing and exporting goods. Capitalize on the beginning of capitalism and earn yourself a place in history in this procedurally generated landscape as you trade and transport the natural resources of the land. The Industrial Revolution is a time period that has always interested me. I think it's pretty well known how I feel about trains. You don't like trains? What about steam trains?
Okay, I didn't realize that I was going to hurt your feelings with that comment.
And therefore I love when games incorporate them. Seeing as transporting and establishing rail lines seems to be a core mechanic of Times of Progress, it immediately interested me. I'm always on the lookout for a train game that I can be good at because rail management is not my strong suit. But I have to say that this aesthetic also grabbed me. I know that last year I complained a lot about grids and being locked into grid building, but there's just something really nostalgic about the art style of Times of Progress. Actually, I think it's going to be nostalgic for anybody that played SimCity 3000 on the Game Boy SP Advance in 2003, which is a really specific club. And if you're part of that club, welcome in. It's very exclusive. Times of Progress will also feature a fairly robust tech tree and research. These will mimic the real-life inventions of the time as well, but you will have to import that research and those inventions from other towns. This means that you can actually change the nodes on the research tree so that you get them in a different order each time. Paired with an administrative mechanic that also allows you to introduce laws and union-specific rulings, I think Times of Progress is also going to be a lot more in-depth than we think. I'm also just really surprised that this game is a solo dev. Just super impressed. And now we head back to Italy to explore Historicity Florence from Stratagem Interactive. With its gorgeous painted art style and intriguing mission-based gameplay, Historicity will see the player attempt to rebuild the city of Florence after the devastation of the Black Plague. From wineries to sculptors, from the humble chapel to the mighty Florence Cathedral, you'll be in complete control of shaping the future of your city and the happiness of those who inhabit it. Will the Renaissance flourish under your leadership, or will the plague prove too difficult to return from? Historicity, I am a little biased when it comes to this one. I put out a video on the demo earlier this year and then played it for a full weekend after that video released. This game has one of the strongest core gameplay loops I've ever experienced. You know that feeling of, oh, I just need to do this and then I can do that, but oh, just do this and then I'll log off, and then you just never log off. The only other games that have grabbed me like this recently would be Banished and Manor Lords. And honestly, this game is hard. Like, it's really, really tough to do well at Historicity Florence. I really love being challenged in city builders because it makes the success all the sweeter. And the art style is so damn charming and cute, it nearly catches you off guard with how tough the following gameplay turns out to be. I also really enjoyed the fact that they're mission-based scenarios as well. You constantly have goals to work towards, which is really fantastic, because I know a lot of people don't super enjoy the sandbox aspect of city builders. So you're going to have goals and missions and scenarios to work towards completing in Historicity as well, which then reward you with new buildings and blueprints. But you can also work around that as well. You don't need to drive straight towards the goal. You can take your time out and plant some vineyards, or, you know, plant another well. What are these called? They're the wells. Holes with water in them. They're wells. Wells, yeah. The word has no meaning to me anymore. Let's move on. Because some part of us seems to be fascinated with exploring the times of knights and castles and swords, and building a thriving city amongst that time, we now move into our next most popular category, medieval. We have some slightly different titles in this category today, so let's start with Earth of Oran. From Straythorn Publishing comes the new title Earth of Oran, developed by a studio of the same name. In Earth, players will attempt to build a kingdom and defend it from raging enemies in real-time battles. With a touch of fantasy to go with your medieval rule, you'll have full control over your environments and biomes in creative mode, allowing you to tailor the gameplay to your specific liking. First of all, check out this colourful landscape. It's gorgeous, it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's teeming with activity and action. And second, it seems to be a lot more detailed than I initially thought. I'm realizing as I read this out that this is becoming a theme of this video. Allowing the player to customize their experience this much is a really interesting choice, and I cannot imagine the amount of work that went into making it happen. I'm super keen to jump into creative mode on this one and create some awesome siege maps. The vibe I'm getting from this one is like early Age of Empires, so maybe it's just singing a nostalgic little song to me, but either way, I'm pretty keen to check this one out in 2025. And now for something completely different, Anvil Empires is the first MMO to be featured in this list series in its entire history. Working together with a server of other players, you'll engage in a war that can take weeks of real-life time to play out. You'll have to focus on building settlements and supply lines to keep your armies fed and active, while trading and engaging with other nearby towns. As we all know, wars are won on the stomachs of happy men, or something like that. From the creators of the popular MMO Foxhole, Anvil Empires could be something a little different for us city builder lovers. Okay, so I know that this one doesn't really look like any other game that makes it onto this list year after year, but I wanted to cover it anyway. I'm really keen for like a co-op settlement manager game. One of the biggest things I keep seeing from people when a game is released is co-op when, and maybe it could be co-op now. If there's anything I'll take away from our brief stint in Bannerlord Online, it's that some of us really just yearn to be farmers in the fields beside our boys. And honestly, I think it's a really interesting concept to play with in the space of city builders. I'm super excited just to be a little worker bee in the settlement, making sure that we have crops planted and our armies are fed. I'm just ready to live my best peasant life. Side note, this game was so far out of my norm that Steam did not know what to do with me looking at it. Whether you're hiding from the summer heat or curled up inside from the chilly winter, there's something to be said for the comfy, cozy games that get us through the seasons. With their adorable art styles and low-stakes gameplay, our cozy city builders are here to take care of us. First up in our cozy list is Whisker Wood from Minicata Dynamics and Hooded Horse. As a colony of mice sent across the seas by their feline overlords, you'll have to establish and expand an island colony to return the resources the cats are requesting. By taking advantage of all natural features of the landscape, you'll have to manage supply chains and the needs of your colony, balanced with the demands of your overlords. And once your island is thriving, you'll be able to decide whether or not a life of oppression is for you. After all, what is cozy without a little rebellion? I have been looking forward to this one since I learned of its development. I'm not gonna lie, it did take me a long time to write this part of the script because I kept watching the little mice go about their business and realized that they're all wearing different accessories. Maybe we'll be able to customize that. I hope so. Whisker Wood, aside from its super cute graphics, really intrigues me. Limited space is always an interesting mechanic to work with, and it sounds like we're going to have to utilize up and down as well as across. There's also a weather system mentioned, which will aid or hinder our mice in turn, and as I've stated previously, it's a nice little random element. The more random elements, the more likely it is you'll have a unique gameplay experience. This one doesn't have a release date just yet, so we're just going to cross our fingers and hope for more information in 2025. Oh my god, that bit was not worth it. I really should have called this category Islands. Little Oceana is a miniature city builder based in the ocean. You'll have to figure out the best combinations of buildings to earn more cash, which allows you to place more land space. Drawing inspiration from Tetris, this puzzle-like builder encourages you to experiment and explore with different combinations to go after those high scores. Every block, every decision counts, but if you're looking for something a little cozier, Creative Mode is here to allow you to unwind and enjoy the building. We've had a few solo devs on this list, and I am always in awe of the work that they do. Though I rail against puzzles in my RPGs, I'm actually a big fan of them in my cozy games. Terra Nil springs to mind, File Under Kingdom does as well, and Little Oceana looks to be following in those footsteps. I like the idea that we can switch between being challenged and just relaxing. Not to mention, look at this art style. Look at these animations, it's the little details that make the game. Overall, this game looks really super polished, and I'm definitely giving this a look when it comes out. We've got a Q2 2025 release date for this one, so we don't have to wait too much longer. And to round out our list of 2025 city builders, we'll be taking a look at two titles that didn't fit neatly into my other categories. But it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind that my categories were uneven this year. It's good. It's my favorite. Variety is the spice of life after all. Anyway, let's look at number 9. This video marks two unique titles making their debut on this list series. Today we have our first ever VR title, and I, for one, could not be more excited to live my little peasant life in the first settlement VR from Christian Wendt. We've got all the usual strappings of a classic city builder, but unlike the others, you'll be fully immersed in your creation. Witness the consequences of your actions and decisions up close and personal as you live your life amongst your citizens. So it is high time that we introduce VR to city builders, or city builders to VR. One of my favorite elements of Manor Lords is being able to walk around your town in third person, and First Settlement seems to take that up to the next level. Actually, the style reminds me a lot of the game The Bloodline, which also has a village building element in it, but only has a first person view to walk around in it. Actually, I think this is the first time I've seen city building in a VR game. I'm super jazzed for this. But as always, if I have actually missed like a city building VR title, please tell me. I have an Oculus and I need a reason to use it. We're shareholders on the moon, and by golly, we're gonna profit. Welcome to Possible One Lunar Industries, in which you'll develop and maintain the first lunar colony. You'll need to make sure your astronauts are well taken care of and have the tools required for them to do their work, and make sure you keep an eye on their health, both physical and mental. The moon is no place for lax management, and you'll need to keep on top of things to reduce the risk of injuries amongst the crew. Possible 1 Lunar Industries is the first game by Upstairs Game and is slated for release in Q1 2026. Yeah, this one squeaked out of my time bracket, but I wanted to include it anyway. It has spaceships. You probably wouldn't be surprised at how often the list changes between scripting and production. So yes, Possible 1 does have a 2026 release date, which does make its inclusion on this 2025 list absolutely illegal. Anyone who's watched this channel before will know that I adore lighting in games. It's just one of those things. I love a well-lit game. I absolutely adore the effort taken with this one to showcase the really dark and spooky non-atmosphere of the moon. Industry stretches only as far as the light does, which makes pathing out to new objectives really risky. While Possible 1 is possibly more of a colony manager than a city builder, I still saw enough city building elements that I wanted to include it anyway. I'm really fighting for this one on my list. I'm fighting for it. I'm still searching for my space sci-fi builder that really hooks me in, and Possible 1 could possibly be a good candidate. So that is 10 new city builders coming out in the year of 2025. Which ones are you looking forward to? Which ones had you not heard of? Did I miss any that you were looking forward to? Do you want to fight me on some specific point that I made in the comments? Bring it on. I've also got to say thank you for an amazing year on YouTube. I have loved putting out all my videos this year. Not as many as I'd like, but still more than I thought. And all of the comments give me life. I read them throughout the day. I screenshot the really nice ones and keep them for my bad days. So thank you for that. Everyone who has subscribed, left a like, all of that stuff genuinely has helped the channel grow a lot. Let me know which games you'll be playing in 2025. And as always, happy creating. Is this as funny as it feels? I'm gonna do a few of these because I can't see. Where's the mic? That bit was not worth it.